Live from Citizen TV, this is Tonight with Sam Ituku.
Hello there, thank you for choosing Citizen TV on this 13th day of November 2025. Tonight on Data Point, we're reflecting on the public sector wage bill, which at the moment stands at 1.17 trillion shillings, the amount of money that is used to compensate employees within the public sector. Talking of employees, the public sector has 1.02 million employees taking up all those resources, and we'll be breaking down the numbers to also understand what happens to the country's scarce resources, because as it is in the current financial year budget, we are talking about debt servicing of more than 1.7 trillion shillings. So if you have to look at the revenues that we collect, this is going to service the debt, 1 trillion shillings plus going to personnel emoluments, what remains for development of the country, and other services that have to be financed, including the allocation to the county governments. We'll have that conversation later on Data Point, but also tonight, the news gang will be back. But first, the highlights.
Our hospitals are running on debt, in deep debt, because of this huge arrears of our institution.
And the mess. Catholic Church faults the government over confusion in health and education sectors, urges President Ruto to end the crisis. From roadside collections to hefty protection fees, EACC report exposes how traffic police bosses extort matatu operators. ODM at 20. Pomp and ceremony as ODM Party's 20th anniversary celebrations kick off in the coastal city of Mombasa. East Africa, the land of fridges, a cold confirmation from Uganda and a metaphor from Kenya as Tanzania turns to treason trials on the news gang. Good evening. Our sign language interpreter is Wilson Ochuka. Now, the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops has accused the government of living in denial about the wanting state of education and provision of health services in the country. The bishops have cited the failure by the Social Health Authority to settle part of hospital claims owed to faith-based institutions and the lack of clarity on the competency-based education as detrimental to the future of Kenyans. The bishops have also faulted the government for enacting laws that the church finds repressive. Brenda Wanga reports.
While lauding the government for maintaining peace in the country for the larger part of the year, the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, KCCB, says the executive needs to do better in key sectors, especially education and health.
We need a spirit of openness to address these serious concerns from a spirit of openness and not to be in denial. There are serious things happening in our schools.
The bishops say the current system of education, CBE, was rolled out and implemented without clear guidelines for not only the teachers and learners, but parents as well.
We are inviting those responsible in government not to make political responses to these very serious matters, but to move with speed and rectify the things that are ailing our education system, especially with regard to the introduction of the current system of education, which was CBC, now we're calling it CBE.
The bishops now want the government to take remedial actions to steady the education ship. They also want the government to level the education playing field by ensuring that adequate teachers are deployed equitably, capitation is availed fully and on time to enable schools to function optimally.
The head teachers tell you capitation is not even sufficient for them to run the schools, yet they're not allowed to collect any extra money from the parents.
The religious leaders are imploring government to pay claims made by health facilities. They say the pending bills are from both the defunct NHIF and now SHA. They say the continued delay in clearing these bills is putting health provision at risk.
What you want to affirm is this. Our hospitals, whether they are owed by NHIF or SHA, the suppliers are waiting for their money. We need medical supplies. We need to pay the staff. Our hospitals are running on debt.
At the same time, they have asked the government to repeal contentious sections of the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, as well as reviewing the Religious Organization Bill of 2024. Both laws, they say, have the potential to muzzle freedom of expression and worship. Besides that, the bishops are encouraging the youth to exercise their civic duty by participating in the ongoing continuous voter registration.
Registering as a voter secures your voice and contribution, enabling Kenya to continue growing in justice, peace, and unity.
The bishops have also challenged government leaders to observe integrity and accountability as avenues of slaying the corruption dragon that they say continues to cripple service delivery and undermine national growth. They say the government must stop condemning corruption publicly and tolerating it privately. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
5 of Kenya's largest ethnic communities continue to dominate government employment opportunities, holding more than 70% of all state corporations' opportunities. A new report by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, reveals that the Kikuyu, Kalenjin, Luo, Luya and Kamba communities control majority of senior government jobs, leaving little room for representation among other 38 ethnic groups. The Commission warns that the growing ethnicity in public sector recruitment poses a serious threat to national unity and social cohesion. Citizen TV's Ben Kirui has more.
The new report released as the NCIC current commissioner's term comes to an end has raised alarm over the persistence of ethnic dominance in Kenya's parastatals, painting a grim picture of inequality despite years of diversity reforms. The National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, says ethnicity remains a deep-rooted problem, with 5 major communities, Kikuyu, Kalenjin, Luo, Luya, and Kamba continuing to enjoy the lion's share of government jobs.
What is shocking is that 8 communities, we have 56 in here, 8 control almost 90% of all the jobs.
According to the 2025 Ethnic and Diversity Audit, these 5 communities alongside the Kisii, Meru and Mijikenda occupy an overwhelming 88% of all positions in state corporations, leaving just 12% to be shared among 37 minority groups.
We have one that is absolutely non-compliant by far. Boy Teaching and Referral Hospital. It is a hospital. It's a referral hospital. Level 5, my friend. Hey, percentage Ningabi? 67%. One community. What does the law say? No more than 33.3%. Senior. How did Nagabi? 34% of the Peter Kabisa Nakuenda.
There has been a clear demonstration that we don't have equitable distribution of opportunities.
Several government institutions have also been flagged for the imbalance, the report citing political patronage as a key driver of the biased hiring patterns, revealing that the same 8 communities control 86% of all CEO positions. Notably, the Kikuyu, Kalenjin, Luo and Luya alone account for nearly 2/3 of top leadership roles.
I'm not against phone calls, but phone calls call on behalf of a Dasanach. Hire this Dasanach. Yes, hire this Makonde, hire this person, hire this Jem person.
The audit also exposes a glaring gender gap, with 62% of employees in state corporations being men, while women hold just 22% of CEO positions, far below the constitutional 2/3 gender requirement. Public universities have not been spared either. The NCIC report reveals that the same 5 dominant communities control 85.7% of all university jobs, leaving the remaining 38 ethnic groups to share less than 15% of opportunities. The Kikuyu community leads with the 22.9% representation, followed by the Kalenjin at 15.7%, Luo at 15.6%, and Luya at 15.4%.
Where there is no compliance, for example, as it has been shown very clearly, whether it is universities or parastatals or counties like we did exactly a year ago today, we launched an audit, ethnic audit of all the 47 counties. And it was only 13 of the 47 counties who complied with what the Constitution provides.
Then we have NCS.
The Commission warns that the ethnic favoritism and gender imbalance in public employment threaten to erode national unity and social cohesion if not urgently addressed. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
At the same time, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is recommending the scrapping of the current police traffic unit and instead have periodic rotation of officers providing the service to curb extortion. An audit of the National Police Service has revealed deep-rooted corruption in the police service, with the traffic unit leading in cases of extortion. The report shows traffic police officers subject public service vehicles, or PSVs, to daily and route-level extortion and collect, quote, protection fees from border riders and matatu circles. The report shows that daily collection targets for the police are set by their seniors, with proceeds channeled up the chain of command. Willie Lusige reports.
The findings by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission highlights how corruption is deeply rooted, with the traffic unit described as the most corrupt, having institutionalized extortion under orders from senior officers.
Traffic police officers subject public vehicles to daily and routine level extortion, a practice that has been reportedly become institutionalized.
The traffic police unit, long associated with bribery, was cited for systematic extortion of public service vehicle operators through daily and route-level collection, often termed as unofficial protection fees.
Traffic police officers periodically collect predetermined protection fee, especially from borders and circles. There were also allegations of targets given to these officers by their seniors.
EACC said the report is not meant to shame the service, but to help it build resilience against corruption. It recommends a raft of measures, including scrapping the current traffic unit, training all police officers in traffic management, and ensuring traffic duties are rotated as a way of curbing corruption.
And let us work together and ensure that this report does not remain like other reports on the shelf.
Other glaring findings by EACC is protection fees collected from business operators by police, inconsistent bail management, and poor sanitation in detention facilities. On transfers, EACC noted irregular movements and deployments where some officers were transferred without NPSC approval or punished from superiors. Recruitment of police constables was also flagged for bribery, political interference, and discriminatory eliminations of candidates.
There were manual processes all the way. There are incidences of interference in the process by senior officers and politicians to some extent. The effect is that these irregularities make it difficult to have suitable candidates.
We are going to form the necessary committees and partner with the EACC so that we walk the journey.
EACC has urged Inspector General Douglas Kanja to develop an implementation matrix within 30 days to guide action and allow the Commission to monitor progress. Willie Lusige, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, 26 more people have been arrested for their alleged involvement in malpractices in the ongoing KCSE examinations. Among them are 9 students, 15 examination officials, 1 school cook and 1 civilian. This brings the total number of arrests related to the KCSE exam cheating scandals to 71 since the examinations began. Milito Letenges reports.
Oceania Junior Secondary School, located in Mombasa at the Shelly Beach Examination Center, tops the list of institutions linked to the KCSE exam cheating scandal. Those arrested include the center manager Edina Furaha Nelson, invigilators Omar Rashid, Collins Odur, Steve Kimani, Lucia Wino and Mwanajuma Zami. The school cook Lina Owiti has also been implicated alongside 6 students. In Bungoma County at St. Cecilia Secondary School, the arrested examination officials include Winnie Musamala, Masi Loponi, Annette Oswani, Rose Baraza, and Charles Wafula. In Migori County, St. Anne's Sunrise Secondary School has also been linked to exam malpractice. The deputy center manager, Bernard Otieno, and an invigilator, George Oudo, have been arrested. At Agorosare Secondary School, invigilators James Nyasani Nyakundi and Peter Odhiambo Sima were also apprehended. At Friends Kaptola Secondary School in Bungoma, Alvin Nyongesa, a civilian with no official role at the institution, was arrested. Students arrested include one from Magunga Secondary School, one from Sangailu Secondary School, one from Sosiani Secondary School, and 6 from Oceania Secondary School. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
To politics now. 2 weeks before IBC conducts by-elections in 24 areas in the country, violence has marred the campaigns in Kasipul, Homa Bay County. In the latest incident, 3 police officers were seriously injured after goons attacked them while in pursuit of 5 murder suspects who sought refuge at the home of ODM Kasipul parliamentary candidate Boyd Were. Police in Homa Bay say they are pursuing the attackers, who escaped with police handcuffs during the deadly confrontation just a week after 2 people were killed in another confrontation in Opondo area during campaigns, where Were has condemned police action and denied that the suspects were at his home. Gatete Njoroge reports.
These pictures captured on Wednesday evening shows armed police officers ready for a gun battle at the home of Boyd Were, the ODM Kasipul parliamentary by-election candidate. The team had arrived at the home following a distress call from their colleagues, who had gone to the home to pursue 5 suspects linked to violent confrontation during campaigns in Opondo village, where 2 people were killed.
The officers encountered very harsh resistance from young men who were armed with crude weapons. In the process, some of our officers were injured. 2 sustained deep cuts on their heads and 1 on his left hand.
The officers who were overwhelmed by the attackers were forced to shoot in the air and request for reinforcement.
The suspects who had been arrested were rescued by the violent young men who were attacking the officers. And the suspects left with our handcuffs.
Police have launched a manhunt for the group, which has since gone into hiding. Were, who was away from home, condemned what he termed as reckless behavior by police for causing tension at the homestead.
It was simple. They would just inform us, give us a notice. No. We will allow them to search. Because at the end of the day, they came, fired gunshots all over. There were women in the compound. The residents were there. It brought tension at the end of the day. They didn't arrest anyone because the person they were looking for was not here.
Meanwhile, in Embu County, security officials have summoned 4 bloggers who were allegedly involved in posting online threats, warning former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua not to step in Mbeere North and campaign for DP candidate Newton Karish.
Tumesummon wale originators wa hizo posts ama zile matamshi ambayo tunaona ni kama inaweza chochea hali ya usalama katika sub-county ya Mbeere North. Ako na uhuru ya kukuja afanye campaign zake.
IEBC last week warned against violence in the campaigns and urged security agencies to move with speed and investigate the violence in Kasipul. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV.
Now, the Orange Democratic Party National Governing Council has ratified Siaya Senator Dr. Oburu Oginga as the party's new party leader. In a meeting held in Mombasa, the party's top decision-making organ said it is ready to host the ODM at 20 celebrations starting Friday. Stephen Leto is at the coast.
The Orange Party trooped its colors from Nairobi, flooding the Nairobi SGR terminal early Thursday. It was pomp and color for the 5-hour-long journey to Mombasa, with ODM leaders using the opportunity to interact with party supporters.
Umewahi kuona chama kinafurahiwa namna hii hapa Kenya? Wewe ni mtangazaji mashuhuri hapa Kenya. Umewahi kuona chama ambaye watu wamefurahia kama ODM hivi? Ndugu yangu bana. Waambie wa Kenya bana, chama ni kimoja, chama ni ODM.
Tumesema viongozi tukae pamoja, tushikilie chama, tukue na unity of purpose kama viongozi wa chama, na wanatutegemea sisi kama viongozi tupeleke chama mbele. na tusisambaratishe chama.
Tayari tusherekee, hata ukiwa nyumbani kama hujafika na Mombasa, sherekea pamoja na sisi. Furaha na Wakenya tukue pamoja.
The ODM top brass affirmed that the celebrations in Mombasa will bring back a formidable Orange Party and energize the party ahead of the 2027 general election. Upon arrival in Mombasa, the party's top decision-making organ, NGC,
Kenya, the rule of law,
held its extraordinary meeting at the Fort Jesus and ratified the NEC resolution to have Siaya Senator Oburu Oginga take over as ODM party leader from his younger brother, the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. The party has lined up several activities from Friday, including youth, women and PWD summit at the coastal town. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV, Mombasa.
Now, President William Ruto has yet again attacked the united opposition leaders, terming them retrogressive and hell-bent on promoting politics of poverty and division. The head of state, who continued his trip of Ukambani region in Kitui County today, also slammed his opponents as lacking a plan for Kenyans. Emmanuel Toh reports.
His second day of the Ukambani region tour started with a sharp criticism of the region's leadership, which he says has held the people of Ukambani captive with what he termed as politics of poverty.
Atibomwe, obetwe, jangendu, hiyo ni upuzi. Ama namna gani bwana? Kwani mimi nataka niulize wewe, kuna mtu anasherehekea umaskini? Ati changendu? Ati kuna maskini jeuri? Umaskini ishindwe? Ama namna gani? Hatutaki umaskini Kenya hii. Kama mtu anataka umaskini apeleke kwake. Ati Kitui mnasemaje?
The president, who was speaking in Kitui County, taking the fight to Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka's doorstep, firing at the opposition brigade, saying their one-term crusade was a waste of time.
Mambo yao ni matatu. One term, Kasongo, must go. Sasa mimi nataka niwaulize. Hiyo ndio siasa yao inaishia hapo. Inaanza kwa ukabila, inaenda kwa matusi, inafikia kwa kupingana. Sasa leo wanapinga housing, wanapinga soko, wanapinga model ya elimu, wanapinga SHA. Tuko na vikundi viwili tashindana kwa hii uchaguzi. Team forward na team backward.
Soko ndio hii. Si rais ametujengea soko. Si umesikia title deed na stima. Rais akiendelea namna hivi, na sisi tunamwambiaje? Tunamwambiaje? Aendelee asiendelee? Si anafanya kazi nzuri? Aendelee.
Tumedanganywa kwa muda mrefu, but enough is enough. Enough is enough. Hawa vijana wote hapa, hawa watu hapa wamechanuka macho. Hii siasa ya political poverty strategy inaitwa vomwe na vayetwa, hiyo tumeachana nayo.
The team ramping up their two-term campaigns with goodies for the county, including pledges to tarmac several roads and launch markets and affordable housing projects.
Rais anafanya kazi, governor anafanya kazi, na tuko na viongozi wale wengine. Akija hapa mambo ya kazi lazima niwe hapa.
Nimeangalia ile miradi ambayo ilitekelezwa hapo awali, na hakuna rais hata mmoja ashaifanya any project more than 50 million. Sahi tuko na Kakongo market 55 million. Sahi sasa tuko na Kwasiko 3.8 billion.
The president is set to visit Machakos County Friday. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV.
And on that political note, we are taking a short break here on Tonight. When we come back, we have more stories, including Data Point, which focuses on the public sector wage bill.
Coming up on Data Point, we break down the ever-ballooning cost of public sector wage bill.
Welcome back. It's time for Data Point. We are focusing on the costs of the public wage bill. Just recently, the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury spoke about some 80 billion shillings goes into financing that every month, translating to about 960 billion shillings. So let's look at the numbers as contained from a report by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission for the financial year that was ending 2024. The figure was 1.17 trillion shillings in the resources that were spent on the public sector. In 2025, it is projected to rise to 1.25 trillion shillings. I'll be telling you why that figure is important looking at the facilities or the finances of the country. We are talking about 1 million, just of 1 million employees in the public sector. And so when you do the average, the monthly salary on average for the officers that work in the public service is some 71,000 shillings. But obviously, you have to look at the different cadre as well as what happens with different categories of public officers versus state officers. So let's break it down into the different departments or different sectors. For the ministries, departments and agencies, which is MDAs, we are talking about a wage bill of up to 317 billion shillings. For the teaching service, it is actually the largest, managed by the Teacher Service Commission, TSC, up to 395 billion shillings in public wage bill. Then state officers, those that are at the level of the executive, the judiciary, the legislature, and of course the counties, we are talking about some 3.6 billion shillings per year. The county governments take a wage bill of up to 215 billion shillings, considering the public servants at that level. For public universities, you're talking about 184 billion shillings, while public corporations or parastatals account for 55 billion shillings, giving that total of 1.17 trillion shillings. So the employees in those sectors are 1 million shillings. Let's focus on something else about the public sector wage bill. You're talking about the current ratio of wage bill to the ordinary revenue is at 43%. It has been coming down from upwards of 50% plus. Now, the target, according to the Public Finance Management Act, is supposed to be 35%. So for us to get closer to 35%, the options are two. You can either cut expenditure in the public service or you raise the revenues. Of course, cutting expenditure would be difficult, knowing that there has been a clamor to employ more people in the public service. So the next thing that you look at is that the challenges, according to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, why the public sector wage bill continues to be expensive for the country. They are talking about duplication of roles in many offices. There is oversplitting of roles. You find people carrying out very small roles when it comes to execution. Then there's weak payroll management. The control of budget had spoken about more than 11 billion shillings being spent on employment or remuneration that is outside the electronic payroll. Then low labor productivity has also been reported by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, and talking of the figure that in Kenya, the public sector productivity is $5 per hour. If you had to compare that to a country like Luxembourg, you're talking about $100 per hour, which is 20 times higher than that of Kenya. The other thing that you talk about is the revenues of the country. So at the moment, we're talking about 2.75 trillion shillings in ordinary revenue. These are resources collected from mainly the taxes in the country. But then there's appropriations in aid, the levies that are charged for the services that you access with the government, whether you're applying for a birth certificate, you're applying for an ID card or renewing one, the driver's licenses and more. You're talking about 567 billion shillings as the income expected by the government for the current financial year. The grants that are to come from development partners of the country are 46.9 billion shillings, and there was a deficit of 923 billion shillings, close to a trillion, which is supposed to be received through borrowing at the domestic market and at the external market. So that gave a total of 4.29 trillion shillings, which is also the amount that is in the budget, or what you may call the expenditure. Let's take a look at what else that means, because at the moment, in terms of the expenditure of the government, the recurrent expenditure is 3.13 trillion shillings. This means operations and maintenance costs for the government. So out of the 4.29 trillion shillings. 3.13 goes to recurrent expenditure. For development, you only have about 693 billion shillings, and the counties receive up to 475 billion shillings from the budget, but out of this is only 405, which is the equitable allocation, meaning that the counties are sharing equally an allocation of 405 billion shillings from the national revenues. That gives you a total of 4.29 trillion shillings. So now let's take a look at an important figure, which I told you about earlier on. So the ordinary revenue, the taxes of the country, you're getting 2.7 trillion shillings. But the wage bill, meaning the employees of the government, they are taking 1.17 trillion shillings. There are 1 million of them taking that money. At the same time, we are using more than 1.7 trillion shillings to service debt. So you're talking about repaying of debt as well as paying interest on the debts that we have taken, whether it's at the local market or externally. If you do the math, 1.17 trillion shillings plus 1.7 trillion shillings gets you to about 2.8 trillion shillings. That figure is higher than the ordinary revenues you are collecting of 2.7 trillion shillings. It means that for us to continue financing other operations of the government, we depend on the levies and fees that you pay, which is a maximum of less than 600 billion shillings, but the balance of that would have to borrow. Let's take a look at why that is the case. So remember I told you of the deficit of 923 billion shillings for this current year. We are borrowing at the local market 635 billion shillings. From the external market, you're borrowing 288 billion shillings. So this is how we're managing to finance other operations, including sometimes even paying the salaries. And we are also talking about the debt servicing that I just mentioned of 1.7 trillion shillings. And at the moment, based on the numbers from the Central Bank of Kenya, the public debt is at 12 trillion shillings. So very expensive public sector wages. At the same time, very expensive recurrent expenditure, but also the debt that you have taken, the servicing. You can imagine borrowing 923 billion shillings, the amount of interest that you also have to pay, adding up to the cost of running government. And that is a data point for this week for you to think about as we progress. That's data point. Now to another story. Hundreds of expectant mothers in rural areas are at risk due to decision by the Ministry of Health to stop funding deliveries at Level 2 facilities and clinics. The Council of Governors says the move has already led to a drop in the number of women giving birth in health facilities across the country. And Asamili Chebet now reports at least 924 mothers and 10,000 newborns have lost their lives in various hospitals since the start of the year.
The Council of Governors is questioning the Ministry of Health's decision to stop reimbursing maternal deliveries at the dispensary level, citing claims by the ministry that such facilities lack adequate beds and admission capacity. Governors argue that for many mothers, especially those in rural and remote areas, dispensaries remain the only accessible health facilities for delivery.
You can fake any other disease, but I don't see anyone faking pregnancy. Because pregnancy has a product that are visible, which is a baby and a happy mother. And therefore we seriously need, as Governor Khalid has said, for the ministry and SHA to reconsider that position.
Dispensary, the border of Ethiopia in Mandera North or in Mandera West is Aga and Nairobi Hospital of Mandera. Now when you deny deliveries at the dispensaries and health centers, then we are not progressing. Actually, we are retrogressing.
Speaking during the launch of Inter-County Maternal and Perinatal Death Surveillance and Response Initiative, commonly known as MPDSR, the governors called on the ministry to stop politicizing SHA and ensure timely and full reimbursement of claims.
What we did this financial year, we invested more in equipping our hospitals, hoping that the money or the resources will generate will also support us in issues of farms and non-farms. But when a referral, county referral hospital receive 1.2 million shillings of disbursement, then you can imagine what we are looking at.
The latest statistics show that Kenya loses 5,680 mothers and 33,600 newborns every year, numbers that health experts say remain unacceptably high, even as the country continues to make strides in maternal health. The Ministry of Health says there is no directive to stop reimbursing maternity deliveries in any facility regardless of level. It, however, says Level 2 facilities are not licensed to provide inpatient services under the KMPDC regulations, especially the KEPH standards, and must invest in upgrading its infrastructure. MOH says it is working with SHA and KMPDC to define provisions that would allow for deliveries to take place where need is determined, especially counties that have low facility densities. The Inter-County MPDSR will help in monitoring and collaborative response to maternal and neonatal deaths across the counties. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV.
A house help in Nairobi has been arrested for allegedly stealing a safe containing a gun and a huge sum of money from her employer within Nairobi's Kileleshwa estate. Detectives from Kilimani Police Station trailed Meridina Anupi and arrested her at a hideout within Kawangware. The loaded firearm, which the suspect is believed to have stolen, has however not been recovered. Franklin Wala followed up the matter at Kibera Law Courts and filed this report.
43-year-old Meridina Anupi John is the woman accused of stealing a sum of 348,000 shillings and a pistol from her employer within Kileleshwa in Nairobi.
And upon checking her in his bedroom,
Detective Simon Ihaji from Kilimani Police Station told a Kibera Magistrates Court the suspect allegedly broke into her employer's bedroom within Kileleshwa Estate, where she stole a safe containing the money in form of euros, US dollars and Kenyan shillings. The safe contained other valuables, among them a Glock 19 pistols, 2 magazines with 44 rounds of ammunition.
the safe contained a Glock 19 pistol, cash 5,000 Kenyan shillings, 1950 US dollars and 600 euros missing.
The incident is said to have happened on the evening of 3rd November when her employer had stepped out of the house, only to find out that Meridina, a house help who had served him for over 2 years, was nowhere. She had also switched off her phone. However, it did not take long before she was trailed to a hideout within Kawangware. Police now say there are other accomplices and sought time to detain her as they pursue the missing loaded Glock pistol, which they say is in the wrong hands. Principal Magistrate Margaret Murage ordered the accused to remain in police custody until 24th of November.
I will allow the application, save that the respondent shall be detained for 7 days only. A charge sheet, if any, to be presented before court after the 7 days. So this one will take us to the 20th. The 24th.
For now, detectives are piecing together crucial details with the possibility of recovering the missing weapon and making more arrests. Franklin Wala, Citizen TV.
Nairobi Media Services has organized a series of special events to celebrate Inoro TV's 10th anniversary in broadcasting. The celebrations feature Meet the People tour by Inoro TV presenters across various parts of the central region, the team touring Ruiru, Thika, Keno and Murang'a today, where dedicated Inoro fans stand up to celebrate with their favorite presenters and walked away with exciting gifts in appreciation of their continued support. Since its launch in 2015, Inoro TV has remained the leading Kikuyu TV station, a true reflection of Royal Media Services' commitment to delivering credible news, quality entertainment and educational programming to its audience.
I'm a very big fan of Inoro TV because imekuwa na sisi kutoka kitambo, na my favorite show ni Mugambo wa Muremi because one of my subjects that I take in the agriculture, at least I get something from that. Na Magetha Smart bado.
Endelee kuungana nasi kutoka Inoro Rushine, Kemure, Uge waku, Inoro Miaraho, Matemo, hizo taarifa zote tunakuletea na njia iliyo safi, na pia kuna kipindi ambacho tunaita Ituge ama kule kwa Citizen TV wanaita Mwanamke Bomba, ambacho nawaletea na ni kusherehekea wale kina mama ambao wanafanya vitu tofauti za kujenga taifa.
Indeed, happy 10th anniversary for Inoro TV, or happy birthday. We are taking a short break here on tonight. When we come back, we have the business and sports, and shortly after, we'll have the news gun. Stay tuned.
Able to present it, there's a token of appreciation.
Coming up in business, we stand to lose more if we do not address issues of cybersecurity. Government says as they defend new cyber crimes amendment law.
Welcome back. It's now time for business. The government has invested over 40 billion shillings in the digitization of its services, as well as other related technological investments. This is according to Engineer John Tanui, the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy. Speaking during the annual Safaricom Cybersecurity Summit, the PS also defended the government's move to amend the now contentious Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Bill, noting that it was costing the country investment opportunities. Jimmy Mbogo reports.
Able to present it, there's a token of appreciation.
As technology becomes more integrated into the day-to-day lives of Kenyans, with an average Kenyan spending at least 4 hours and 13 minutes browsing the internet, so has the risk associated with the changing cybersecurity landscape. According to data, over 4.6 billion threats were reported within the ecosystem, representing more than 8% growth in cyber attacks. This, experts say, calls for stronger awareness among users and organizations.
We want to keep on innovating, we want to come with new products and services, but we never ever think of security when we are innovating. And therefore, I continue to call upon all of us here. In whatever we do, let's also always ensure that we have kind of secure by design in all that we do.
Engineer John Tanui, the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy, highlighted the importance of digital literacy and public education as vital components of strengthening national cyber resilience, noting that the government has made significant investment to tap into the growing economic front.
The government has put close to 40 billion investment in the digital infrastructure, but this is touching several years, approaching 10 years in terms of backbone infrastructure. But looking forward, we put the digital master plan, which we established 2022, a 10-year program, which requires 500 billion shillings for us to realize the dream of Kenya.
And in light of Kenya's growing reputation as a Silicon Savannah, digital service exports are approaching 1 billion shillings annually, demonstrating the economic potential of a secure digital ecosystem.
We have many young enterprises by Kenyans who are developing solutions and have been able to export to 3-4 countries outside Kenya. Those products are digital products and those services are digital services. We have seen also many Kenyans who are able to earn opportunities to work for global companies, working from here as professionals, as ICT support engineers for global companies and serving Kenya. Those earnings are also digital services earnings.
The government has also reaffirmed its commitment to enforcing cybersecurity policies and defended its move to implement the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act, despite pushback from the public and private sector players, arguing that the implementation will unlock more investment in Kenya's digital economy sector.
The benefits in this space is very significant because we want to make sure that anyone doing genuine business in that space is trusted. We have seen countries withdraw opportunities in our country because of maybe misuse of certain platforms.
Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Cooperative Bank of Kenya has posted a solid performance for the third quarter of 2025, with profit after tax rising 12% to 21.6 billion shillings from 19.2 billion shillings last year. The strong results underscore the lender's continued growth momentum across its core business segments. Here's Jasmine Omboy with the details.
The group's operating income climbed 13% to 67.4 billion shillings, propelled by a 22% jump in net interest income. Total assets rose 8% to 815.3 billion shillings, while customer deposits grew to 548.6 billion. Net loans and advances expanded to 406.5 billion as Coop Bank deepened its lending to MSMEs, disbursing over 54 billion in mobile e-credit loans this year alone. Shareholders' funds grew by nearly a quarter to 164.2 billion shillings, supported by retained earnings of 12.5 billion. The bank's return on equity now stands at a competitive 19.4%. The group's subsidiaries continued to add value, led by Coop Trust Investment Services, which recorded a 145% jump in profit to 624 million. Kingdom Bank posted 820 million, while the bank assurance arm earned 1.1 billion shillings in profit before tax. The South Sudan and securities units also remained profitable. The bank now conducts over 90% of its transactions through digital and alternative channels. And on the back of this performance, Coop Bank has declared an interim dividend of 1 shilling per share for the 9 months ending September 2025. Jasmine Wamboi, Citizen TV.
In sports, the national football team, the Harambee Stars, have completed preparations for their first friendly match in Turkey as they settle in the city of Antalya, where they will play 2 friendly matches. The team has been boosted by the arrival of head coach Benny McCarthy from London. Benny missed the training sessions in Kenya as he was sorting out an issue with his passport. Harambee Stars will be in action tomorrow against Equatorial Guinea, the match set for the Emiran Sports Center in Antalya. The match will kick off at 6 p.m. Kenya time. After that match, the team will have 2 days to recover before playing a star-studded Senegal in their second friendly match at the same venue. Defending champion South Africa became the first country to arrive for the Women's Sevens Rugby Africa Cup that kicks off on Saturday at the RFUA grounds in Nairobi. The final Kenya squad has also been named, with stakeholders calling on fans to turn up in large numbers to cheer the Kenyan Lionesses.
As we discuss rugby, we also see this as an opportunity to profile Kenya as a strategic investment destination. When you invest in Kenya, you are then accessing Africa.
It's not only rugby, there's a lot of things happening in Kenya. And I still tell the Kenyans to come, watch us in action live, and tell a friend, and you're all welcome.
Kenya Ports Authority made a huge statement of intent when they thrashed Gladiators of Burundi 100-42 to record the first century score of the Women Basketball League Africa Zone 5 qualifiers. The win takes KPA to the top of Group A together with APR of Rwanda. The two teams clashing tonight to decide the group winners. KPA had an explosive start, taking a 22-6 lead in the first quarter. The Dockers increased the pressure in the second quarter to outscore the Burundians 26-5, taking a comfortable 48-11 lead going into the halftime break. The third quarter was the best for KPA, where they scored 31 points against 16. KPA went slow in the fourth quarter, but still prevailed 15-21 to win the match 100-42. Betty Kananu was the best player for KPA with 27 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists and 6 steals. And Sports Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya has called on all sports federations in Kenya to comply with the Sports Act and work as a team if they are to realize the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics dream. The CS was the chief guest on the second day of the President and Secretary General's seminar in Machakos County. Mvurya says an enabling environment should be cultivated for all sportsmen and women in order to get the best out of the athletes. The federations have been called upon to uphold integrity and set up solid financial structures. President Shadrach Maluki assured the Cabinet Secretary that the Federation's umbrella body will put athletes' interests first in all their programs. The seminar that ends tomorrow brings together all federations as they set up a roadmap towards qualification for the 2028 Olympic Games.
Some aspects think, what is it for me now?
Some of these disciplines, if the Federation has weak leadership, they are not likely to thrive. So we want the federations to have a good foundation, good leadership, so we can be able now to bring everybody on board.
It's about sports, and without cohesion, without pulling together, without working together as a team in a federation, then there is nothing. The person who feels the pinch or the pain is the athlete. And in my manifesto, you all know that I said that I'm going to lead the athletes. It's athlete-centered.
Kwale County, the Kenyan coast will host the 2025 edition of the three-day Kirk Road Cycling African Championship that will start on the 19th of November. The county has released the program with some major roads set to be closed for the Under-23 Championship. The county is also ready to host visitors from more than 28 participating countries across the world.
Kuna yale michezo ambao tuko na team ambayo imekuwa selected, na kuna ile fun cycling race. Kwa ile fun cycling days ni ya kila mtu. Kama uko na baiskeli, kama hauna, kuna watu ambao hapa watatupatia kwa na pesa kidogo, hela kidogo, utachangia na utapewa baiskeli kuja kama umejiandaa.
Kwanza mashindano ama hii tafrija ambayo inakuja Kwale imeweza itaelezea dunia mzima kuhusu Kwale. Pili, pia itakuwa imeleta biashara ama imeleta biashara katika kaunti hii. Na imani wakati tafrija ikiendelea, hoteli zetu zitakuwa zimepata watu. Vile vile katika masuala haya yote kuna wale wafanyi biashara ambao watakuwa biashara zao zimepata nafasi.
Tutakuwa na wachezaji kutoka Afrika nzima, na utakuwa mchezo ambao utakuwa unajumuisha miaka kutoka 15 hadi miaka 50, na tutakuwa na wachezaji wa kike na tutakuwa na wachezaji wa kiume.
All right, on that note of cycling, we're taking a short break here. I don't know if we have cyclists here, people who cycle. Okay, so far no hands. Nobody cycles here.
It depends for what purpose.
For what purpose?
Errands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe no purpose.
You don't want to cycle?
I do that for exercise.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there'll be a championship in Kwale County.
Mnakaribishwa kujiandikisha.
Ndio.
Okay.
So we're taking a short break here. News Gang will be back shortly. Here is what we'll be focusing on when we come back.
East Africa, the land of fridges, a cold confirmation from Uganda and a metaphor from Kenya as Tanzania turns to treason trials on the News Gang.